Good morning, and to our YouTube channel. You got to see that book there. That's the 5 love languages. And you have to ask yourself, why do marriages fail? Why is there problems in marriages? Marriages and family are the bedrock of American society. One of the reasons I do what I do is because I want to see the strength of America in its families. I'm a family guy. Those of you that know me, very dedicated to my family. My wife and I are very, very much interested in the welfare of our sons and our daughters. And if our nation is to remain strong, then our families and the family unit must remain strong. But so why do marriages fail? And that's what we're trying to prevent. I'll try to attempt to answer some of the questions and probably head off some potential problems that could start in a relationship or possibly are already happening. If your marriage has failed, then I think that you don't want to repeat the same mistake twice. And this book that I'm promoting, The 5 Love Languages, is not some psychobabble. It's a real easy to read. It really speaks to the heart of people. I'm not a real profound, deep, scholarly type guy that does marriage counseling. But boy, this is a real nitty-gritty 5 things that most people will tap into, and it will help them. But it's a emotional love tank. You know, we talk about a gas tank on a car needing to be filled when people are driving. You got to keep that gas tank full. If you don't, you're going to be stuck alongside the road all alone, and that's not a good feeling. And the same thing is with a love tank, with a person that you marry. And I'll get into it here in just a little bit. So you have a love tank, and it needs to be filled. There are needs that need to be met. And this book gives you just some real practical insight on how to not run out of love. The 5 languages are the words of affirmation, quality time, number 2, 3, receiving gifts, number 4 would be acts of service, and number 5 would be physical touch. And these are some of the things that I'm going to be discussing in this series. Chances are your spouse speaks a different love language than you speak, that you have different needs that need to be met, and they have different needs that need to be met. And we must be willing to learn our spouse's primary love language if we are to be an effective communicator of love. And when people are loved, they feel very satisfied and very secure in their marriage. And that's what we want to do. And that's why I'm going to keep this teaching very simple and on point. I will use some of the examples from my marriage that I have learned, and possibly you can apply them to their marriage. You know, people have looked at us. We're 33, I'm going to be 34 years here next year. And, you know, one of the things I would talk about early in our marriage, Rhonda we lived in an apartment over in Smithfield. That's where we started. And then we moved to a double wide in Hopwood Village or someplace like that. And then eventually bought a house in Ammon. And now we're here at Crossview Acres. But early on in the marriage, you know, I worked, Rhonda worked, and you know, it was romance. It was great. I mean, just being young and in love, it was a great thing. God spoke to me and told me to take care of Rhonda, and I did that to the best of my ability. I worked hard and worked a lot of overtime. But somewhere along the line, when the kids came along, Rhonda kind of got, you know, what are you doing with working all the time? And I thought, well, my job is to be the protector and the provider. And while you're taking care of the kids, my job is to go out and work all the time. And she would, like, you got to stop. You got to take time with me, and you got to take time with the kids. And I have seen it. Guys work a lot of overtime, thinking that making money is the most important thing. I worked with a guy at the plant that he was a killer on overtime. You know, and I understand it. You got to make money. It takes money to run a family, and I'm not denying that. I'm not saying that it doesn't. And there are times you're going to have to work, but there's also going to have to be times that you take time with your wife and also with your kids, even to the point where we had to get a little bit of pastoral counseling, and my pastor had to tell me, he says, you got to trust God. that you're going to make it. I thought, well, I just have to keep working, take these side jobs and working, heating and air conditioning and doing these other things. But, I learned that through my pastor, you got to trust God. You have to trust God. And there was a toughening process. God had me on the potter's wheel, so to speak, and God was dealing with me a lot of things, working in the ministry, and early on with Brother Garlitz up in Calvary Apostolic on Bouquet Street. And, we had a lot of things going on. But one of the things I had to do was learn to be an effective communicator with my wife. After reading the book and getting an understanding of the 5 languages of love, this was possibly in the early 90s. I think we came across this book. I really learned some things. That when my wife would come home from work, I had to put the newspaper down or put the cereal box down or shut off the television or the video or put the book down and listen to what she had to say. She had to have some of that quality time. She had to unburden herself and tell me about her day. And I've learned that when she needs to talk, I got to stop and take time and listen. That's one of her love languages. And that's, you have to do that. You have to take time with your family and help fill their love languages. All of my love language is acts of service. I just love it when somebody jumps in and pitches in and gives me a hand with some things. That's probably my primary love language, would be acts of service, where somebody just yokes with me and helps me plow. I really enjoy that. That is something that tells me, hey, you're with me. Okay, I got something for you. Finish this sentence. There would be fewer divorces if only people would blank. Let's try that again. Here's something for you, a little homework. It says, finish this sentence. There would be fewer divorces in the United States if only people blank. Would be maybe words of affirmation, and they would talk to each other, spend quality time with each other, maybe receive gifts. Maybe they would have acts of service or even physical touch. You fill in the blanks for your life, and that's something that you want to apply to your life. And we're going to dig into these lessons, and I'm going to give you some examples. This is just only the introduction. The next 5 lessons, I'll be talking about how it worked for us. And this is give you a little insight into our marriage and some of the things that we went through. And I hope it blesses you, and I hope you can glean something from it and apply it to your own marriage and trust God and strengthen your family and your marriage, and we'll have revival, and we will be blessed of God. All right, thanks for stopping by. Tune into Lesson 1 on YouTube.